Welcome to the Tech Bite on the Massachusetts Safe School Discipline Report using SIF. This report is also known as the SSDR. My name is Elaine Boyd, and in this Tech Bite, I'll be going over the data items needed to upload the SSDR using SIF 2.7. For each discipline event that has to be reported to the state, 3 things need to be entered in MMS: an incident, an infraction, and an action. We add incidents through the discipline module. If you click on the discipline reporting jobs, more discipline editing jobs, and at the bottom of the list is edit incidents. To add a new incident, you're going to click on the Add a Record button, which in the top menu bar, it's that yellow plus sign. When you create an incident ID, you have the choice of either entering in a complete ID, a partial ID, or nothing, and let MMS suggest the number. So if I wanted my IDs for the 2016 year to start with 2016, I can set the length of the incident on the fly. With this partial entered and a length of 8, I can click on hit the next number, and that will be my ID number for the incident. Click OK when you have an incident ID that you're happy with, and you can see. So for all of the data items, we're just going to go right through the list, and I'm going to tell you whether it is required or not through SIF. So the incident ID is required. The description is not. You can enter in a description if you want, but that data item is not uploaded through SIF. The next item is the date. That is required. Time is required. You can enter in a time, or you can right-click and it will put in the current time for you. The AM, PM is not required. This location here is the room where is your room table for in your database. If I click on this, it's going to have all of my classrooms, which is wonderful, and the discipline event could very well happen in one of those rooms. But at the bottom of my list, I also have some rather unusual rooms here, and it's because discipline uses the room table. So I have a bathroom, I have the, well, cafeteria is probably a valid one. I have a hallway, and I have a parking lot. In our instance, it is going to happen in the CAF. I'm going to scroll over her a little bit, and the next series of data points are required, but those numbers aren't actually uploaded. It's going to be pulling from other records, so you need to make sure that the numbers you enter in here have the associated number of fields. For example, the number of student offenders. If I set this to 3, so there were 3 students involved in this incident, I need to make sure that I have 3 student discipline infractions linked to this incident ID, or when I upload it, the SIF agent is going to not upload this one because it'll be an error. I need to make sure that my numbers all match. The number of non-student offenders, they would be students from another school, not part of your student population. The numbers entered here stop with that, so they're not really uploaded to the state, and they're not checked against because there is no way of entering in the non-student offenders. So we have the number of unknown offenders. So if you know there were, in addition to your 3 students, there were several other students from a neighboring school or other people and you don't even know who they are, you could put those numbers in there, but nothing further happens with that, and those numbers actually don't get uploaded either, so that would be an optional field. Number of student victims. This is an optional data item, but if you do indicate that there were victims, when we get to the victims tab and the incidents, you will need to enter in information. So I am going to put 1 student victim. We have the number of school personnel victims, so that's your teachers and adults that work in the school that are part of your staff table. Again, like with the student victims, if there are any school personnel that were victims and you indicate a number here, then you need to make sure that you include them in the victims tab. So we have the number of non-school personnel victims, so those would be other adults. I'm going to leave that to 0, and then we have number of unknown victims. And again, those are just numbers, and those numbers don't get uploaded through SIF. The next series of checkboxes you can use if you want, but they are not uploaded through SIF. So they are checkboxes to indicate whether the incident involved drugs or alcohol, violence, weapon, or bullying. We have another field that will pull in that similar type of data, but those fields are not used through SIF. You are free to use them if you choose. The note field is not used. If you want to use it, you can, but it is not uploaded. All right, I'm going to move ahead so we can see the next couple of fields. The SIF incident description is a required field. This will get uploaded to the state through the SIF, and this is additional information piggybacking on the incident category. It is a required field, and you can see in my description here it is up to 100 characters. The SIF incident time type is required, and this is the fields that Massachusetts is looking for, whether it happened before school, during class, during passing, during lunch, recess, after school, and so forth. So we're going to have that, our incident being during class. So the incident reporter type, this is who reported the incident, how you became aware of the incident happening. So this is going to be a student-reported incident. Now the incident category is a set list from the state. I do believe there are other incident categories coming, but right now these are the incidents that the state is looking for you to report with. And with the current SIF agent, these are the only ones that will be accepted. So let's see, we're going to have a bullying event, and then here we could put a little bit more descriptive text as to what type of bullying or what happened. And like I said, you have up to 100 characters. The SIF location is a little bit more generalized than what we saw with our room information that we selected just a little bit ago. So here are all of the areas that Massachusetts is looking for. So we're going to select a classroom here, and that is a required field. And then we have SIF related to. Now remember those check boxes that I skipped over, whether it involved drugs or alcohol or bullying or weapons? These are the codes that Massachusetts is looking for. Not quite sure about that bottom one, whether it was alcohol-related, drug-related, gang, hate, or weapon-related. I think fighting is not a valid value here. So I'm going to select hate. So that's everything with the incident details. Now we are going to click on our victim tab. So just to scroll over here to review, I have one student victim and one school personnel victim. And because I indicated that there were victims, I do need to include them here. Including victims is optional, but if you do indicate there were victims, then it becomes mandatory that you need to report on the information. So we have here our student victims. So if I click to add a student victim, this is my school list. I'm in my high school database, so these are all of my high school students. If I click here and check that box, it's going to include victims from all of my schools. So I am in a multiple school database. So with that checked, I am going to see all of the students in my database. So we have a few more here to select. So I'm going to click on one student. There aren't many fields here for the victim, but the victim ID is required. The name of the student is required, or the name of the victim. Whether they were referred to an assistant program is not collected. The injury severity is collected, that is a required field, and the options there are minor injury, major injury, no injury, or serious bodily injury. So I'm going to say no injury here. And then the medical treatment, you can indicate it if you want, but it is not collected, as is the treatment note. That is not collected. So there's my one student victim, and I did have a staff victim, so I'm going to click on the staff table. Now this is going to be all of my, it should be all of my staff from all of my schools. And let's see, we're going to pick this person here. So the same fields are required. We have the victim ID, the last name, what the referred to assistance program is optional. The injury severity is required. Medical treatment and treatment note is not. So we're going to save and exit, and that is it for the incident and the victim data. Next, we're going to go to our student infraction and action data. So we can go to that through the discipline reporting jobs, or we can take the shortcut and go right to the student discipline editor by clicking on the DIS button up at the top. I'm going to start with a fresh student here. So Charles is my first of 3 students that are going to receive an infraction based on this incident. And just like with the incident, we're going to start at the first column. We're going to work all our way down, and I'm going to cover whether it is collected by SIF and a sample of what the valid values are. So first we need to click on the plus sign to add an infraction. It's not up here, it's going to be down here, because once we add an infraction, we're going to be able to add an action to go along with it. So I'm going to click on add an infraction. We are going to give it an incident ID number, and we're going to use the one that we just entered, which is our 2016-0001. This date is not uploaded to SIF. It is going to use the date that's associated with our infraction. The infraction by description here is not used by SIF, but in order to save this record, we need to put something in there. So you can put something that's appropriate, or you can put any record you want. Depending on the infraction code that you selected, the involves will self-populate. That is not uploaded. The staff field is not uploaded, so it's not used, but you can use those fields if you want, or this field if you want. The location, that got populated from our incident, which is very nice, as did the time. So by associating this infraction with our incident, some items populated. The weapon type, so if a weapon was involved, you need to indicate the type. Entering the weapon type is a required SIF field. The selection that I have here is not a complete list. There should be an option of 0098 that indicates that no weapon was used. I don't have that option here, so I'll just put other firearm here. The drug or alcohol code, that is not uploaded through SIF, so you can enter that in if you want, but it's not required. The note field is not used. The extended description is not used, is not uploaded to SIF. So all of these fields that are not used, you can definitely use them to collect whatever information that you need or want to maintain, but those fields will not be uploaded through SIF. So the next field we have is SIF Other Weapon Description. Now that one is actually used in conjunction with this field right here, the SIF Other Weapon, and this is the complete list of SIF weapons that Massachusetts wants you to use. Now anything that has other in there, or so we have other type of firearm, another one is other knife, other sharp object, other object. So anything that has other in there, you need to put that additional information in the other weapon description pipe. The next field that I want to talk about is the SIF offender injury, and those are the same fields that we saw in our victim. So if the offender was also injured, you'd want to indicate that, and if they were not injured, we have an option there for no injury. So this is a required field, so something needs to be entered into there. The next field is SIF Other Offense, and in addition to the offense that you entered in with the incident, you could indicate another one here. So this is an optional field. You don't have to put anything in here if there is no need to put any other offense linked in here. So I'm just going to leave that field blank. Let's scroll over, and the last two fields are SIF related to. That is a required field, and whether it was alcohol related, so that should be the same as what you entered in the incident. So I had entered that this was a hate-related offense. And then the last field is SIF due to disability, and that's just a simple yes or no, and that is required. So now we're going to scroll over here, and we're going to take a look at our actions. So we're going to click on the yellow plus sign to add an action, and the starting date and the ending date are required. The action code, just like our incident code here on the top half of the screen, although it is not uploaded to SIF, MMS will not allow you to save the record until you have an action. So you can select anything you want. It's not going to get uploaded. The flag is determined by the action selected, and it's not uploaded. The status and units fields are not uploaded to the state through SIF. The note field is not uploaded. Some of the expanded action details fields are uploaded through SIF, but you can enter them in through here. So this clicking on that button will open up another window. And if you do enter in fields there, it will populate the SIF fields farther on down. I'm just going to enter directly into the fields, whichever you find easier to do. The approved by is not required. If you do select it, it's your list of staff members in your table. The SIF extra days past removal is required. Sorry, I misspoke. It is optional. And then the SIF superintendent appeal, that is also an optional field, and that's just a yes or no, or you can leave it blank. The alternate education description is not required. The alternate education description is not a required field. The SIF zero tolerance is required, and that is a yes or no. The SIF full year expulsion, that is required, and that is again a yes or no field. The SIF shortened expulsion, that is required, and that is a yes or no field. The SIF offender action code, that is required. And you can see the action code. So instead of the action code that we saw earlier, this is the action code that's going to be used. The SIF police notification, that is required. That's a yes or no. Whether they were arrested or not, that is a required field. And then the SIF alternate ed, so whether the student was referred to an alternate education situation, and that is a yes or no. And those are all the required fields for SIF to upload your SSDR. I hope you found this information helpful, and just remember the 3 areas. First, you want to create your incident, then you want to come into the student discipline editor and enter in the infraction and then the action information. And with those 3 groups of information entered in, you should be fine. This tech bite is not going to be covering any of the agent or the actual upload. I hope you found this information helpful. Thank you.